Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are immersing ourselves in the life and legacy of a figure who, he spent 30 consecutive years basically building the American television image of frontier morality.
We are talking about Michael Landon.
Michael Landon, and our mission for you today is to go a little deeper than just those comforting characters we all know.
You know, little Joe Cartwright, Charles Ingalls,
Yeah.
Jonathan Smith.
Exactly. We need to scrape away that wholesome patina.
Right. And really analyze the guy behind it all. The ambitious, complex, and honestly, often deeply troubled architect who designed those worlds so meticulously.
And we've got a ton of material that really reveals the intense contradictions that fueled his whole professional empire.
It's pretty staggering when you look at it.
The scale of his professional footprint is genuinely astounding. He wasn't just a beloved actor.
No, not at all.
He was this singular, enduring creative force who just mastered the long-form TV series.
Okay, so just consider this one data point because it really sets the stage for his level of celebrity.
Yeah.
Michael Landon appeared on the cover of TV Guide 22 times.
22.
22 times. And the only person who surpassed that was Lucille Ball.
That's the list. That's it.
That's the list. That level of sustained recognition of being the face of primetime for 3 solid decades, it's practically unheard of.
And he did it by starring in, this is the important part, running 3 massive consecutive hits.
Bonanza, Little House on the Prairie, and Highway to Heaven.
To maintain that kind of creative momentum and that connection with an audience across 3 totally different shows.
It required this, almost manic drive.
But that perfect, enduring image of the dependable father figure, it kind of fractures right at the very beginning.
It really does.
And the hook we jump into immediately is that the man who created the absolute quintessential American pioneer family,
Yeah.
he started life as Eugene Maurice Orowitz.
Eugene Maurice Orowitz.
Oh.
So we had to figure out why this creator of these simple moral frontier stories had to just completely shed that original name.
And the identity that came with it. An identity connected to a really painful, complex childhood.
In order to achieve that staggering level of success.
Let's start right there at the origin point.
Okay. So Eugene Maurice Orowitz, he was born on October 31st, 1936 in Forest Hills, Queens, New York.
Halloween, baby.
Right. And his childhood was it was defined by this profound identity conflict and a lot of emotional instability.
And that instability stemmed directly from his parents, right?
Directly. His mother was Kathleen Peggy O'Neill. She was a former dancer and comedian. She was Roman Catholic.
Okay.
His father, Eli Maurice Orowitz, was Jewish. And when Eugene was only 4, they moved the family to Collingswood, New Jersey.
And while he did celebrate his bar mitzvah, the sources really describe this overwhelming sense of being an outsider in that new town.
That sense of isolation was, it was palpable. It was deeply damaging for him. He later claimed they were one of only 2 Jewish families in that whole working-class community.
And the anti-Semitism he experienced wasn't subtle. It was overt, and in his memory, it was incredibly socially limiting.
He talked about it years later, very starkly. He said he never dated in high school.
Not at all.
Not once. Because of this prejudice. He believed, and this is a direct quote, that no Christian father would allow his daughter to go out with a Jew.
Wow. That early experience of just being fundamentally unwelcome,
Yeah.
of having your identity dictated by the outside world, that feels like a huge signpost for why he would then spend his entire professional life building these worlds of simple acceptance.
Exactly. But the external conflict, as bad as it was almost overshadowed by the constant paralyzing trauma that was happening inside his own home.
Right. The material paints a picture of a childhood that was just defined by severe emotional stress.
And it was all centered on his mother's profound mental health struggles.
And we're not just talking about typical family tension here. This was life or death anxiety for a child.
He lived in constant worry about his mother's frequent and very dramatic suicide attempts.
He talked about one really harrowing event, which he called the worst experience of his entire life.
The one at the beach.
Yeah, where he had to physically rescue his mother as she tried to drown herself during a family vacation.
The psychological impact of that. You're a child having to save your own parent.
And then the emotional manipulation that followed. She would just immediately and casually deny it ever even happened.
Right. It caused a complete stress overload. He said he immediately vomited right after the incident. That level of responsibility of being the parent to your own unstable mother, That's a foundational wound.
And the sources connect this immense, unrelenting stress directly to one of his most painful childhood challenges,
Chronic bedwetting.
which wasn't just a private medical issue. His mother weaponized it.
She used it as a form of public shaming.
This is a detail that's it's hard to hear, but it's essential to understanding his later fixation on dignity and protection.
According to the unauthorized biography, she would display his wet sheets outside his bedroom window.
For the whole neighborhood to see.
Imagine the shame. He described having to literally rush home from school every day, just desperately trying to get those sheets down before his classmates could see them.
That is just a profound violation of dignity, the ultimate public humiliation for a young boy who's already dealing with so much.
What was so fascinating is how he later processed that intense personal suffering.
He didn't bury it.
No, he did the opposite. He took that specific, painful anecdote and he placed it right at the center of his creative work.
In 1974, this is before Little House even launched, he wrote, produced, and directed a semi-autobiographical TV movie.
The Loneliest Runner.
And the film is about a boy struggling with his mother's behavior who wets the bed and is tormented when she hangs the sheets outside.
It tells you everything. Even when he became this massively famous, successful Michael Landon, he was still trying to exorcise the shame of Eugene Orowitz.
He was using his power, his platform, not just to entertain.
No, he was using it to process, to seek redemption for the trauma.
The themes of endurance and shame and the ultimate need for a strong, safe father figure.
They become the bedrock of every single show he ever creates after that.
Before he found acting, though, his first escape route from that emotional chaos was physical achievement.
He became an exceptional athlete. He channeled all that intensity into the javelin throw at Collingswood High School.
This is the detail that just seems so incongruous with the gentle Charles Ingalls image.
It really is.
He wasn't just good, he was performing at an elite level. His 1954 toss of 193 feet 4 inches.
It was recorded as the longest throw by any high school student in the entire United States that year.
That's just wild.
That kind of prowess suggests a drive, a focus, and a need for, tangible, verifiable success that completely outpaced his peers.
You have to wonder if it was another way of escaping, a way to prove his worthiness to a world that had rejected Eugene Orowitz.
It was certainly his ticket out. It earned him a scholarship to the University of Southern California, USC.
But that's not how the story went.
No. Fate had other plans. While he was practicing, he tore his shoulder ligaments.
And that was it.
That was the end of his javelin career. And without that athletic focus, he dropped out of college pretty quickly. Suddenly, Eugene Orowitz is just adrift in Los Angeles.
He was trying to figure out what's next, and the sources say he landed a job as an attendant at a service station.
And this service station just happened to be strategically located directly across the street from the Warner Bros. Studios.
That's classic Hollywood mythology, isn't it? The accidental proximity.
It really is. He was spotted by a local talent agent, Bob Raisin.
And Raisin saw something in him, the intensity, the looks.
But his first piece of advice was non-negotiable.
The name had to go.
The name had to go. Eugene Orowitz was seen as too specific, too difficult, and just too overtly Jewish-sounding for the Hollywood machine of the mid-1950s.
So the vulnerable, tormented Eugene had to be completely erased.
And the way he chose the new name, it's so devoid of any kind of romantic inspiration.
He just picked it out of a phone book.
Literally. He selected Michael Landon from the Los Angeles phone book. It was an immediate, pragmatic necessity.
Swap a difficult identity for a generic, marketable, wholesome American one.
One that let him blend in and start building the persona he would need for the next 30 years.
And with that new name, Michael Landon, the hustle began.
Oh, yeah. The years between 1955 and 1959 were just defined by relentless work. He was taking any role he could get.
It's a fascinating period because he wasn't really typecast right away.
Not at all. His first major starring role was in an anthology series, Telephone Time, playing Caspar Hauser in 1956.
But the role that really defined his initial celebrity and still has this cult status today
has to be the 1957 B-movie phenomenon was a teenage werewolf.
He played Tony Rivers in that film, which is ironically a story about a character's transformation.
Totally pulls apart from the moral landscape of his later work.
But even while he was making monster movies, he was simultaneously kind of training for his destiny. He was racking up appearances in every TV Western that mattered.
Oh yeah, The Rifleman, Wanted Dead or Alive.
He was in that one with Steve McQueen.
All right, Tales of Wells Fargo, Tombstone territory. This immersion was critical. He learned the rhythm, the language, the whole morality of the genre that would become his bedrock.
And all of this was just preparation for 1959.
When, at the incredibly young age of 22, he was cast as Little Joe Cartwright.
The youngest, most impulsive of the Cartwright sons on Bonanza.
The historical significance of Bonanza is just immense. It goes way beyond the plot.
People forget it was a technical pioneer.
It was one of the first major TV series broadcast entirely in color.
Which was a huge deal at the time.
A huge deal. It meant the beautiful, sprawling vistas of the Ponderosa Ranch, the striking image of the Cartwrights in their color-coded shirts. It was an immediate, vibrant spectacle for audiences.
And the show was a monster hit almost immediately. It didn't just survive, it dominated.
Bonanza topped the Nielsen ratings for 3 straight years in the mid-60s, and that massive, enduring popularity gave Landon something crucial.
Leverage.
Leverage, and the ability to start shaping his own professional path.
And this is where we see the ambition of Eugene Orowitz completely take over Michael Landon, the creator.
He was getting mountains of fan mail, more than any other cast member.
And he used it.
He used that popularity as a bargaining chip with NBC and with the executive producer David Dortort. He just flat out refused to remain an actor reading lines.
He demanded creative input. That was almost unheard of for a young star and a major hit at that time.
He started writing scripts in 1962, and by '68 he was directing his first episode. This pivot from actor to writer, director, producer is the key evolution of his entire career.
He wasn't content to just portray wholesomeness.
No, he had to be the architect of it.
And you could already see his directorial style even back then. He loved tight emotional close-ups, and he focused on episodes that dealt with deep moral dilemmas.
Or personal sacrifice. It often mirrored the themes he would later explore in The Loneliest Runner. He was learning how to craft these narratives about resilience and redemption under the extreme pressure of weekly TV production.
And his consistency throughout Bonanza is just stunning. He appeared in all 14 seasons.
Alongside Lorne Greene and Victor Sen-Young, a run that lasted until 1973. It's hard to imagine that level of commitment to a single project today.
Speaking of commitment, the way he handled the abrupt death of Dan Blocker, who played Haas.
Oh, that really showcases his narrative influence.
The final season was heavily impacted, and Landon wrote the script for the big 2-hour wedding episode, Forever.
Which was hugely popular.
But that episode was originally meant to be Haas's wedding.
Right, so Landon had to sensitively pivot the script to feature Little Joe as the groom instead, but he also had to recall Haas in a way that honored both the character and the actor.
It's a specific, poignant detail that shows his awareness of the audience's emotional investment.
And his ability to handle profound loss within a fictional framework, something he knew all too well from his childhood.
Okay, before we move on to Little House, we have to talk about the singing career detour.
We absolutely do. It's such a bizarre, contrasting element to the whole Western hero image.
It really highlights the desperation of his early career branding efforts.
It really does. So in 1957, right after I was a teenage werewolf, Candlelight Records released a single.
Give me a little kiss. Oh, yeah. Huh. Backed with Be Patient With Me.
And some copies were actually credited, hilariously, to the teenage werewolf.
That's incredible. This wasn't the rugged image he cultivated. This was pure bubblegum pop.
And then the record was re-released in 1962 to try and cash in on his Bonanza fame.
The fact that he was willing to put himself out there as a B-movie monster, a teen idol crooner, and a Western hero all at the same time.
It speaks volumes about his early quest for a stable, marketable identity.
He was just throwing everything at the wall to see what would stick.
Totally. And the mental image from his live performances really sums up that bizarre identity mashup.
The material notes he would sometimes sing live on stage.
Performing those poppy songs.
With a holster and gun strapped to his hip.
It's just, he's desperately trying to blend the teen idol celebrity with the established Western persona.
It's the sound of Michael Landon being born out of the chaos of Eugene Orowitz.
So when Bonanza was canceled in 1973, Landon didn't slow down for even a second.
The transition was immediate and decisive. He quickly secured the rights and launched Little House on the Prairie in 1974.
That rapid pivot is incredible. It really shows he already knew what he wanted to do next.
which was to transition from being one of four leads in a male-dominated story to being the singular moral center of a family-focused drama.
He starred as Charles Ingalls, basing the show on Laura Ingalls Wilder's iconic books.
And his deep involvement was now just standard procedure. He had essentially become the singular creative force on set.
Executive producer, writer of many episodes, and director of over half the series run.
And that level of total control allowed him to imbue every single moment with the moral clarity and emotional intensity he felt was necessary.
His directorial style was often highly emotional, right? Lots of reaction shots, tight close-ups to convey suffering and triumph.
Yeah, and this is where he really began mentoring the next generation. People like Melissa Gilbert, who played Laura, Melissa Sue Anderson as Mary, and Karen Grassel as Caroline.
And Little House ran for 8 successful seasons. But Landon, ever the shrewd businessman, he initiated a structural change in 1982.
He basically extended the franchise.
Exactly. They retooled the series as Little House, a new beginning.
Charles and Caroline Ingalls stepped back, and the narrative focus shifted to the Wilder family and the broader Walnut Grove community.
But even without being the lead actor, Landon retained his absolute control. He was still the EP, director, and writer.
He made sure the tone and the moral compass remained fixed right up until the end in 1983.
I think we have to revisit the philosophy he was preaching on set because it provides such a stark contrast to the reality of his own life at the time.
Right. Melissa Gilbert frequently quoted the core lesson that Landon, in her words, pounded into her from a young age.
That quote, which she shared in an interview, it sounds like a mantra he developed specifically to counteract the chaos of Hollywood.
Gilbert recalled him saying, "Nothing's more important than home and family, no success, no career. Nothing's more important than loving the people you love and contributing to a community."
That's a powerful statement. But how did he reconcile that philosophy with his own choices?
Because at the exact time he was delivering these lessons, his second marriage was collapsing.
Leading to a very high-profile divorce in 1982, it creates this incredible tension.
Was he genuinely teaching what he believed, or was he desperately trying to construct the moral framework he himself was failing to live up to?
It's interesting, though, because his professional loyalty was absolute, even if his personal stability was wavering.
That's a great point. The sources confirm his continuous association with producer Kent McRae, director William F. Claxton, and composer David Rose.
It spanned all 3 of his major television series. That's almost 3 decades of working with the same core crew.
They were his extended family, the one stable unit he maintained through all the personal upheaval.
So when Little House wrapped up, Landon again barely paused. In 1984, he launches his 3rd consecutive hit series, Highway to Heaven.
This time, he moves away from the historical setting and goes for a contemporary fantasy drama.
But the core theme of moral redemption and helping others was still firmly intact.
He played Jonathan Smith, a probationary angel, traveling the country, helping people in need, and he reunited with his trusted co-star, Victor French,
who played Mark Gordon. It was a safe choice, which really demonstrates his preference for working with people he trusted implicitly.
But the financial structure of Highway to Heaven is maybe the most significant detail of this era.
For sure. Landon was again the executive producer, writer, and director, but critically, this was the only show in his entire career that he owned outright.
And what kind of power did that grant him?
Total freedom. Owning the master rights meant he had complete creative and financial control. He wasn't beholden to network notes on budget or casting.
And he retained all the valuable syndication rights.
Right. And that freedom allowed him to integrate his philanthropic ideas directly into the production.
The show was about outreach, and he practiced what he preached in the hiring.
The sources detail his decision to hire real-life cancer patients and disabled people as camera crew and writers for the show.
He was blending his professional and moral identities seamlessly.
But the end of Highway to Heaven was bittersweet and marked by personal loss.
Ratings started to slip, which led to an abbreviated 5th and final season.
But the greater blow was the death of his friend and co-star, Victor French,
who died of advanced lung cancer in June 1989, just before the series finale even aired.
That emotional loss, combined with a changing landscape at NBC, led to the abrupt end of his 30-year relationship with the network.
The sources say there was a substantial fallout with those within NBC's upper management,
which forced him to sever ties with the network that had been his home for 3 decades.
So he moves to CBS, and he quickly shoots a 2-hour pilot called Us in 1991, hoping to launch a 4th consecutive hit.
The ambition was still fully intact even in his final year. But that series, tragically, never aired beyond the pilot because of the diagnosis that followed shortly after.
So now we have to turn to that ultimate tension. Reconciling the figure who built his career on the foundation of unwavering family values.
With the reality of a life marked by instability and contradiction.
His personal life, especially his marriages, provides a clear timeline of this. The sources outline 3 marriages and 9 children in total.
His first marriage was to Dodie Levy Frazier from 56 to 62, which covers his early career struggles and the start of Bonanza.
They adopted 2 sons, Mark and Josh.
The second and longest marriage was to Marjorie Lynn No from 1963 to 1982. This spans the height of his fame, from Bonanza through most of Little House.
They raised her adopted stepdaughter, Cheryl Lynn, and had 4 biological children, Leslie, Michael Jr., Shauna, and Christopher.
And the dissolution of this marriage, right when he was America's ultimate TV dad, was a huge shock to the public.
He then married his 3rd wife, Cindy Clerico, in 1983. He met her when she was a makeup artist on the set of Little House.
And they had 2 children, Jennifer and Sean, and they were married until his death in 1991.
We should delve deeper into the contradiction of his health habits. He spent decades projecting this clean, rugged, natural image.
Right. Yet he admitted that he was a chain smoker and a heavy drinker for most of his adult life.
This internal struggle between the projected image and the actual reality is just central to understanding him.
The man dedicated his professional life to writing and directing morality plays. Yet he personally struggled with vices that he later believed contributed to his fatal illness.
It really makes you wonder if the wholesomeness was always a kind of protective facade, just masking the turmoil underneath it.
His political and social beliefs were also more complex than the simple Hollywood conservative label he often got.
A 1985 profile in People magazine described him as a staunch conservative who was close to Ronald Reagan.
Yet he clearly had a broader perspective on social issues. In 1990, he actively supported a pro-environmentalist proposition in California.
And just months before his diagnosis, in March of '91, he was criticizing the growing social climate of division. He specifically condemned political polarization and what he called political correctness.
He was wrestling with big national questions, which shows he wasn't just interested in fictional morality.
And despite all the personal struggles, the core belief system he articulated was unwavering.
He summed it up beautifully in a May 1991 interview. He said, "I believe in God, I believe in family, I believe in truth between people, I believe in the power of love."
But the most profound duality, I think, lies in how he treated his co-stars.
The man who was the father figure to America was also capable of being deeply cruel behind the scenes.
The contrast between the experience of Melissa Gilbert and Karen Grassel is just jarring.
Gilbert consistently described him as making her feel incredibly safe and being deeply paternal throughout her childhood on set. He was her mentor, her protector.
But Karen Grassel, who played his wife, Carolyn Ingalls, she painted a far more difficult picture in her memoir.
She detailed a troubled relationship and specifically cited derogatory remarks he made about her on set,
Often in front of other cast and crew members.
which forces us to analyze that set environment.
Yeah.
Why was he so paternal and fiercely protective of the young actress playing his daughter?
But capable of professional cruelty toward the actress playing his wife.
It suggests a complexity rooted in control, maybe professional threat, rather than just simple malice.
It's important to note the nuance, though. Grassel's memoir also says she was grateful that she mended fences with him before he died.
Right, so this wasn't a relationship of sustained enmity, but one defined by intense highs and lows.
Mirroring the emotional intensity of his own childhood.
And that duality extended to his sense of humor, which was chaotic, eccentric, and often just bizarre.
His colleagues talked about this all the time, that the serious director loved pulling these elaborate, strange pranks.
David Canary, his Bonanza co-star, famously called him fearless, especially in his dealings with the network brass.
But that fearlessness manifested in incredibly weird ways.
Like having toads leave from his mouth in public, or dressing up as a superhero just to go to a pizza parlor.
The prank he pulled on Johnny Carson is maybe the most famous example of his commitment to dark psychological humor.
It wasn't a quick joke. It was a sustained piece of performance art.
Landon convinced Carson that during a previous dinner, Carson had accidentally run over a restaurant owner's cat.
He kept this deception going for weeks.
Then, when they went back to the restaurant, Landon had secretly worked with the staff to create a fake menu filled with cat metaphors and references.
The sheer dedication to pull off such a bizarre gaslighting prank just to get a reaction tells you that under the veneer of Charles Ingalls, there was this playful yet disruptive internal chaos.
He used control to create stability on screen and chaos to vent tension off screen.
And finally, there's the bizarre physical relic of his early wild days, preserved far from Hollywood.
In Nally, Nebraska, the famous motel wall damage.
In 1962, at the height of his Bonanza fame, he was headlining the local county fair. And while staying at a motel, he allegedly damaged the room wall.
What's amazing is the motel just embraced the lore. The room is now the Michael Landon suite, and the hole he made is still there.
Untouched, with a commemorative plaque right beside the damage. It's a literal monument to the youthful destruction lurking beneath the perfectly groomed star image.
The final chapter of his life, though brief, was conducted entirely in the public eye.
After decades of controlling his narrative, he fought his final battle against cancer with the same intensity he brought to his shows.
It began so suddenly. In April 1991, he was on a skiing vacation in Utah, and he started suffering these severe, debilitating headaches.
Within 3 days, he got the devastating news. Inoperable terminal pancreatic cancer.
The diagnosis was incredibly fast, with the cancer already affecting vital tissues and blood vessels.
And the tragedy was compounded by his own self-assessment of the cause.
He publicly stated that he believed his decades of chain smoking and heavy drinking had directly caused the cancer.
Which is so poignant because he specifically noted he only tried to quit smoking after his close friend, Victor French, died of lung cancer just 2 years prior.
It's a heartbreaking testament to the idea of consequence, a theme he wrote about so often, becoming brutally real in his own life.
His public response was immediate and strategic. He went on The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson, right after the diagnosis.
Not just to share his struggle, but to use that platform to push back hard against the tabloid press.
He specifically condemned their sensationalism and inaccuracy, especially the false claim that he and his wife were trying to have another child.
It was the ultimate act of narrative control. He used his last major network appearance to cement his image as the protective family man, even while facing death.
He pledged to fight and asked his millions of fans for their prayers. Just 12 days after that appearance, he had successful surgery to remove a life-threatening blood clot.
Then in June 1991, he granted his last major interview, appearing on the cover of Life magazine.
The photos and the story focused exclusively on his family and his struggle. It was his last deliberate act to ensure the legacy he left was defined by love and family strength.
Not by the disease that was consuming him.
Michael Landon died just a few weeks later, at the age of 54, on July 1st, 1991, in Malibu, California.
With his wife by his side.
He was interred in a private family mausoleum at Hillside Memorial Park Cemetery, and his headstone inscription. It really captures the intent of his life's work.
He seized life with joy. He gave to life generously. He leaves a legacy of love and laughter.
His influence, though, continues to be felt decades later. A community building at Malibu's Bluffs Park was named the Michael Landon Center.
And his professional honors continue to roll in, reflecting his massive impact on television.
A star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in '84, the International Emmy Founders Award in '82. Posthumously, he was inducted into the Television Hall of Fame in '95 and the Western Performers Hall of Fame in '98.
But the most important continuation of his story comes from his own children, who have provided these necessary, complicated perspectives on the man behind the myth.
His son, Michael Jr., not only produced the memorial special Michael Landon, Memories with Laughter and Love, but he also co-wrote and directed the 1999 biopic, Michael Landon, The Father I Knew.
And that film was so crucial because it deliberately focused on the emotional trauma of his parents' divorce and his father's premature death, all from the son's point of view.
It presented a far more nuanced, difficult, and honest picture than the public image ever allowed. It focused on the pain of separation right alongside the memories of love.
It's a vital counterpoint. It demonstrates that the construction of the perfect family on screen inevitably led to very real emotional consequences off screen.
So when we synthesize this entire journey, we're left with the figure of Eugene Orowitz.
Right. Traumatized by instability, shame, and societal rejection.
Who successfully manufactured Michael Landon, the symbol of moral certainty.
And Landon then spent 30 years as the dedicated architect of these worlds. The Ponderosa, Walnut Grove, the roads of America.
And they were all fundamentally about the exact thing that largely eluded his real life. Unwavering stability, simple morality, and the unbreakable family unit.
He needed to control the narrative because his own origins were defined by chaos.
He was a man just defined by intense contradictions, fiercely loyal to his crew, yet capable of cruelty to his co-stars.
A champion of family values who struggled immensely with his personal choices. A serious dramatic artist who loved bizarre, disruptive pranks.
The sheer dedication required to maintain that public image of moral certainty for 3 decades is just an incredible feat of performance and will.
It really makes us wonder about the cost. Given the intense personal turmoil, the ambition, and the speed at which he moved from one project to the next, never slowing down.
The central question remains.
Was Michael Landon ultimately creating the stable, ideal world he wished he had for himself and his children, or was he primarily providing the audience with the dependable moral escape they so desperately desired?
Making him a kind of mirror of 20th century American longing.
The performance was flawless, but the price tag paid by Eugene Orowitz was steep.
And the challenge for you, the listener, is to try and discern where the character ended and the creator truly began when you next encounter his work. It's a question of whether the architect truly found peace in the world he constructed.